This episode is brought to you by LifeLock. The holidays mean more travel, more shopping, more time online, and more personal info in places that could expose you to identity theft. That's why LifeLock monitors millions of data points every second. If your identity is stolen, their US-based restoration specialist will fix it, guaranteed or your money back. Get more holiday fun and less holiday worry with LifeLock. Save up to 40% your first year. Visit LifeLock.com/podcast. Terms apply.
Judge Jeanine Pirro.
She's the outspoken host.
Judge Jeanine Pirro is dominating the headlines right now.
This is the Judge Jeanine Tunnel to Towers Foundation Sunday morning show. Now, here's Judge Jeanine Pirro.
Welcome, everyone, to the Judge Jeanine Tunnel to Towers Foundation show. It is Sunday morning, and I hope you're enjoying your day so far. Look, presidents always have gatekeepers, but in Biden's case, and this is according to Democrat lawmakers, donors, the walls around him were higher, the controls greater. He didn't speak to his generals before the Afghanistan withdrawal. I mean, where 13 servicemen were killed. Throughout his presidency, a small group of aides stuck close to him to assist him, and they, when traveling, would control everything he did. And if it was a bad day, he wouldn't be able to go out to dinner with other world leaders. We knew all of this, but they lied to us, folks. This president should have been removed. And even Robert Hur, the special counsel, said he was a nice old man who didn't have a memory. That's why he didn't prosecute him. That's why he couldn't prosecute him. And, the sad part is that the world reacted, that Putin went after Ukraine, that Iran unleashed Hamas and Hezbollah. And at the same time, Joe Biden was funding Iran and giving them money and the ability to sell oil on the open market. I mean, I believe that this 4 years of the Biden administration, with everyone lying to us and saying he was great, they have to run circles, they can't keep up with him, Karine Jean-Pierre, Kamala Harris, Jill Biden. This is bad stuff, folks. It was a very dark period in American history. Thank God it's coming to an end. But it was a corrupt period. It was a period where Americans didn't get answers on anything, where the arrogance of the Biden administration basically telling us to just shut up, and we shouldn't be worried about the fact that this guy can't walk upstairs, falls off a bicycle, trips on stage, speaks gibberish most of the time, calls a lid at like 10 o'clock in the morning. Folks, this is not normal. And the fact that we stood for it is even more shocking. But there are only a few people to blame. And hopefully it'll never happen again. And all the while, they were creating prosecutions in Georgia and in Florida and in Washington and New York City to bring down Donald Trump. Pathetic. Anyway. We got some great guests today. I'm going to be speaking with Michael Davis from the Article 3 Project about what's going on, what we can expect in the new administration. And I'm also going to be speaking with the founder and president of life insurance agency Family First Life, Sean Mike. It's the first time you'll be hearing from him. He is a fascinating guy. I think you're going to like him. It's all coming up in just a few moments here on the Judge Jeanine Tunnel to Towers Foundation show.
Now, it's time for Protecting Your Future, sponsored by Colonial Metals Group. Here's Judge Jeanine.
Hi, I'm Jeanine Pirro, and this is Protecting Your Future. Now, we've been talking about the potential government shutdown. We've been talking about all the nonsense in this pork-packed spending by the government that is so bizarre that it's an embarrassment, and it kind of explains why a lot of people are in Congress. They're just getting money for their friends. But what you need to be concerned about is your money and your future. And that's why Colonial Metals Group is sponsoring this segment. Today we're talking about your spending, the government demanding you giving them more money for their absurd spending. So the one thing you've got to do, since we all have to pay taxes, is make sure that your money is protected by the Colonial Metals Group.
It's the Judge Jeanine Show.
¿Hablas español?
Sprichst du Deutsch?
Kan du norsk?
If you've had that sound from Babbel before, I bet you do. Babbel is the science-backed language learning app that actually works. With quick 10-minute lessons handcrafted by over 200 language experts, Babbel gets you on your way to speaking a new language in just a few weeks. With over 16 million subscriptions sold and a 20-day money-back guarantee, just start speaking another language with Babbel. Right now, up to 55% off your Babbel subscription at babbel.com/Spotify podcast. Spelled BABBEL.com/Spotify podcast. Rules and restrictions may apply.
This is the Jeanine Pirro Show. Now, here's Judge Jeanine Pirro.
Welcome back to the Judge Jeanine Tunnel to Towers Foundation Show. Joining us now is the founder of the Article 3 Project. You know him well. He's been on the show many times. He's the guy who gives us the inside scoop because he's really smart and he knows what the inside scoop is in terms of what's going on in D.C. And, we witnessed this past week a lot of sidestepping as the shutdown appeared to loom. But Mike Davis, I want to thank you for joining us and talk to us a little bit about what was going on with this shutdown.
Thanks for having me, Judge. I mean, I would say this. We get frustrated every year when we're dealing with this budget at the end of the year where we're worried about a government shutdown. I would say this. We have to remember that the politicians are not going to cut spending. Why would the reptiles drain their own swamp, right? It's just not going to happen. And I think what we're going to have to actually do to fix this problem where we have out-of-control federal spending, out-of-control federal government, is we need the federal judiciary, the federal judges to step up and to end this. And that's been my 20-year project at the Article 3 Project, is to appoint federal judges who understand that the executive branch, the federal government, but particularly the executive branch, is supposed to have specific, enumerated, limited, and divided powers. And until we get judges who get us back to the basics, we're going to have this out-of-control spending problem on a bipartisan basis. Worse with Democrats than Republicans, but Republicans are certainly guilty. We're going to be dealing with this every year.
Well, the shame of it is that, when I look at some of the stuff that they have in this pork-filled 1,547-page bill that was reduced, there are outrageous things. And, they do it this way every year, Mike Davis, so that everyone could say, 1,547 pages. It came out on either Tuesday or Monday night, and let's just approve it so we can go home on Thursday. No, you do that intentionally to keep the information away from the American people of the absurd pork. And this is where the corruption comes in. I'm very sorry. I'm not sorry. Usually I'm not sorry for any of my beliefs. But when you've got a censorship program in the State Department of all places where they're going to decide whether you should be censored and the American people are paying for that, when we've just went through 4 years of hell with an administration who got in because they shut down the social media along with big tech, who have constantly lied to us about COVID. And I'm not going to get on my platform right now, but it's about time that this ended. And I think that Donald Trump is a person to end it. And, I don't want to pay for juvenile delinquents getting their driver's license. They're juvenile delinquents. Get your own damn driver's license. And that's just some of the stuff that goes on. And it's the reason why I think we need term limits, but it's not about me at this point. So let's talk about what's going to happen now. When Donald Trump comes in, we're on day one. What do you think is going to happen?
Well, I hope he has acting people ahead of in charge of all these departments and agencies, particularly the Justice Department, because we have serious work to do in the Justice Department. President Trump's acting attorney general on day one needs to fire a lot of people, including at Main Justice in the National Security Division, in the D.C. U.S. Attorney's Office.
Who is the acting?
FBI.
Who is the acting attorney general?
Well, I think who it will end up being is Emma Bove, who's going to be the number 2 to the number 2, the principal associate deputy attorney general, which is an appointee. It's not Senate confirmed. And then Emma can effectively take over the department on day one. And then the Article 3 project, the group I lead, is going to help President Trump confirm all of his cabinet picks and other Senate confirmed nominees, including Pam Bondi and Todd Blanche, the deputy attorney general, and John Sauer, the associate attorney general, and great people like Harmeet Dillon. And
I'm so excited about Harmeet. Yep.
Yeah, so Trump's picking a dream team at the Justice Department. Pam's doing a really good job, and they're going to go in there and they're going to bring much-needed serious reforms to the Justice Department so we never have a politicized and weaponized justice system again.
Well, the sad part about this is, we can change the upper echelon of, the Department of Justice, but there are still those mid-level people who pretty much control things. And you really have to, which is why I think Donald Trump is so terrific, you really have to be ready with your team on day one to literally take over. And I remember, what was it, 8 years ago when the acting attorney general, I forget her name.
Sally Yates.
Sally Yates. And she tried to stop whatever it was that Trump was doing. Am I wrong about that?
No, you're exactly right.
Yeah, I thought so.
It's not just the top people. It's like you said, it's not just the assistant attorneys general and the deputy assistant attorneys general. It's the section chiefs. It's the assistant chiefs, it's the deputy director of the FBI, the assistant directors of the FBI, including the special agents in charge of the key field offices like the Washington field office. It's the assistant U.S. attorneys in these key U.S. attorneys' offices.
Yes.
DC in the Southern District of New York and the Southern District of Florida. There needs to be serious house cleaning at the Justice Department. Yeah,
and obviously, with this team, that hopefully they're doing it already. And, what about the judgeships? That's your expertise. What's going on? I hear Biden is trying to get some judges put in very quickly at the end.
Well, one thing we were able to do in President Trump's first term is when I was the chief counsel for nominations on the Senate Judiciary Committee, I broke every piece of China in the Senate and set up the conveyor belt to confirm Trump's judges, a near record number of his judges.
Yeah, you did a great job. Mike, I want my listeners to hear this. You did a phenomenal job there. You really did.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Well, the problem, Judge, is that Biden took advantage of that conveyor belt. And so for the last 4 years, he's been catching up. Now, he's only appointed one to the Supreme Court with Ketanji Brown Jackson, but he's appointed a record number of lower court judges, and so it's going to cause problems. And so President Trump, when he comes in, he knows that judges are critically important. He's going to build on his success from his first term, and he's going to work with us at the Article 3 project to appoint even more bold, even more fearless judges in his second term.
Yeah, and I hopefully he will appoint judges who stay there, who are young enough to be there for many years, because we saw how quickly, Mike Davis, this country can turn when you get these leftist progressives who don't believe in the Constitution, the First Amendment, and what they can do. I mean, it is frightening what we went through over the last 4 years. And you know what's interesting, Mike, is the Wall Street Journal came out with an article this week with about 50 sources saying that Joe Biden was pretty much non-compos mentis right from the get-go, and that even his cabinet people couldn't get in touch with him, and that staffers were setting up agendas for meetings. And, these people that they not only hid, but lied, whether it was Chuck Schumer or Kamala Harris, and said, oh, he's great, or Karine Jean-Pierre. I mean, there's got to be some consequence for that. This man should have been not Article 25, but Section 25 of the Constitution. He should have been taken out as non-competent.
Yeah, this is the biggest scandal in American history that they picked and elected or selected someone who they know was clearly not mentally fit for the job since day one. And they lied about it. They covered it up for 4 years. Joe Biden clearly was not running our country. So
yeah.
Who the hell was running it? Was it Ron Klain? Who was running the country? Who turned our country to the hard left when the American people expected a more middle-of-the-road Joe Biden?
Remember, he ran as a moderate. And he opened up his Trojan horse, and in walked in all of those leftists. Half of them you couldn't recognize. Yeah,
it's unbelievable. And they took our country to the hard left. They took our country to the brink with what they did with their lawfare. They tried to bankrupt Trump. They tried to throw him in prison for life 4 times for non-crimes. They tried to illegally take him off the ballot in Colorado and Maine and elsewhere, and they tried to take off his head twice when they intentionally underfunded his Secret Service protection and then said that Trump was the gravest threat to American democracy, that essentially compared him to Hitler. Biden wanted to spend more money protecting President Zelensky than President Trump.
You know, you have to take a pause after that, Mike, and just let that sink in. What they tried to do to this man, and it's the reason he's president, because, you know, Americans finally saw through it. I mean, they did everything but actually shoot him dead. And honestly, the fact that the man could survive and go through all of that is truly amazing. And it is stunning that he was able to do what most human beings couldn't do, and that is, you can bankrupt me, you can indict me, you can impeach me, you can try to throw me in jail, you can shoot me in the head. I'm not stopping. And, you know, that's why he is now the president. And, you know, I talk to people all, I'm sure you do too, Mike, who just say there's a breath of fresh air. We're like free to be Americans, free to say what we want, free, you know, to be able to, you know, not buy into this craziness. And think about who's in the administration now. Dr. Marty McCary, Dr. Bhattacharya, and you've got, you know, hopefully RFK. You know, when they tried to lock us down, when they tried to put masks on our kids, they shut down our schools, they put American children last. It was horrible what they did. And, you know, now America can look back and, you know, they can say, oh, well, we didn't know. It could have been really serious. You could have died. Baloney. You telling people to stay at home, that caused a worse problem. All right, Mike Davis, you are a delight. Thanks so much for joining us on the Judge Jeanine Tunnelton Towers Foundation show. Keep doing what you're doing, Mike Davis. Have a wonderful holiday. Merry Christmas, and God bless you for what you do.
Merry Christmas, Judge. Thank you.
You're welcome. Bye-bye. All right. And up next here on the Judge Jeanine Tunnelton Towers Foundation show, I will be speaking with Sean Mike. He is the founder and president of a life insurance agency, Family First Life. This is Judge Jeanine Pirro, and I want to share a story that hits home for every parent out there. A mother and her son were driving when they noticed a strange man following them. He tailed them all the way into a parking lot, and when they stopped, he got out of his car and started approaching them. Terrified for her life and her child's safety, the mom didn't hesitate. She grabbed her Byrna launcher. The moment the man saw the Byrna, he turned and fled. No shots fired, no harm done. Just a mom protecting her family with a non-lethal option that worked. Byrna gives you that peace of mind. It's a powerful self-defense tool that can be shipped right to your door without the need for a permit or background check. Head to Byrna.com now and use my promo code Jeanine for 10% off your purchase. Just remember, Byrna products aren't legal in New York City or Yonkers, so be sure to check your local laws. Stay safe. Stay prepared. You can defend what matters most.
This is the Jeanine Pirro Show. Now, here's Judge Jeanine Pirro.
Welcome back to the Judge Jeanine Tunnel to Towers Foundation Show. Joining us now is the founder and president of the life insurance agency Family First Life, Sean Mike. Please join me in welcoming Sean to the Judge Jeanine Tunnel to Towers Foundation Show. Now, let me tell you a little bit about Sean. Sean is a guy who both founded and now is the president of a huge life insurance agency, Family First Life, which already gives you a sense of what he's about. But Sean is the kind of guy that you don't want to meet in a dark alley. The first time I met Sean, I was like, whoa, he looks like a UFC fighter. I hope that's a compliment. I mean it as a compliment, Sean. But Sean is a no-nonsense guy. He is well known in his field, and he's also an individual who had a very interesting start working with families and children many years ago. But I wanted him on, and by the way, he's got a master's degree and yada, yada, yada. But I wanted him on because I've been fascinated by what's going on with this Luigi Mangione case and the fact that he could kill Brian Thompson, a father, a husband, a son, in open daylight, and you've got people supporting him. So I thought that Sean Mike was a perfect person to talk to us about this situation. But first, Sean, tell me a little bit about you so my listeners don't know you, and I want them to get familiar with you.
Well, first of all, thanks for having me on, Judge. It's good to talk to you again. I really appreciate the opportunity, and I do take the UFC fighter analogy as the highest compliment. So
good,
thank you for that.
Good.
Listen, I was raised in a situation where my mom worked 3 jobs to try to pay the bills for me and my little brother, and I became a businessman when I was about 20 years old, as well as a social worker. And I worked with abused and neglected children for years. I've been in the real estate business, waste management, life insurance. I've been in business now for 30 plus years, and I've been very blessed to provide a different life for the people around me, and I'm become very interested in what's happening with the country. And I think over the last 4 years, and probably longer than that, Judge, been very angered, frustrated, and I think at times disgusted about where we're going. I'm very excited about where we are today and where we're heading in the future, but that's a little bit about me.
Well, you made it really fast. You worked with children and families, and we've talked about this. I have as well, prosecuting people who harm children and families, including the families who do the harm. So we kind of come from the same place where, we know what goes on in a lot of homes in this country, and we've done our best, to try to make things right. But I kind of think that, your journey has been a fascinating one because you went into business. And you're a very successful businessman. You have your fingers in a lot of different pots, but you also are an individual who is all about faith and family. And that's why I was initially intrigued by you, because you are, you're a combination of a lot of things, and you go around the country, you give speeches, you have your own huge podcast. And I just thought that you might have some insight into what the heck is going on with these young people who think this Luigi Mangione, who I would prosecute for murder one and seek the death penalty, why they think he's a hero.
Well, honestly, Judge, I think it's a myriad of factors. Number one, I don't actually know that these people that are saying that believe it. And what I mean by that is I think over the last however many years in the country, it's become this, and I say cute in a very condescending way, this cute ideology of I'm going to be anti anything in America that's successful because America's evil and America's wrong. And it's a lack of leadership. I couldn't imagine raising children that would say that about another human being being gunned down from behind, cowardly. I mean, like there's nothing about this that makes you go, man, what a stand this person made. But I think, what's happening, and you saw it at the polls, right? It's a small group of people that yell and scream a lot. And, listen, in today's world, they have a platform to do that, but you talk about, I always had a old mentor that said to me, Sean, everybody's got something to say until they're face to face. Everybody. Everybody. And back then, Judge, that wasn't social media. He just meant, I think, over the phone, and in today's world, I think it's I read these comments and I pay attention. I posted some stuff and you see different platforms with different reactions. So that's the interesting thing. You see certain platforms, people like, I understand, you go to Instagram and you're like, well, most of the people are like, that seems pretty wrong to gun somebody down. Whatever you believe or don't believe in, to do that to a human being, to a father, to a husband, to a son. And then other platforms, a guy pointed out to me the other day, he said, you start looking at, and I think that a lot of the people are making these comments, Judge, fast forward 10 years from now, I don't think they'll be saying the same things. It's easy to have an opinion on things when you don't have any responsibilities or accountability.
But, you said something very interesting, and that is anonymity. And we are knee-deep in anonymity right now, whether it was during the Hamas protests and the anti-Semitism that was shocking to me and to most Americans, I believe, they were all masked. They were all covering their faces. It's the same as social media. The anonymity brings about a certain amount of, it is cowardice, like Luigi shot the guy in the back, big deal. But it also is empowering a certain amount of rage. And I think they just kind of get more and more fired up. And then it becomes a mob mentality. And to bring it to where we are right now, I think we saw that as the left, whether it was Antifa, whether it was Hamas, whether it was the progressives who said, we don't want people going to jail. We want cashless bail. We want people to be out no matter what the crime is. And they got away with it. I mean, we're in a good point now, and you said that, but we've been through hell.
Yeah, listen, we've been through hell, and we've been almost indoctrinated or an attempt to get people to basically anything that you could do that you believe was anti-establishment, anti-success. But guess what? And I said this before the election. I said, listen, this is going to be it's going to be a bloodbath. And the vast majority of Americans don't feel that way. But this small little group of, and again, you talk about it with masks, and I used to always say when I was a social worker, when I went into, they'd be like, well, do you feel comfortable going into this area and that area? And I'm thinking, number one, I grew up in those areas, so that I'm comfortable. But number two, the reality really is, I'm hoping the person chooses to try to mug me, not somebody else. I show up ready, and I don't mean it to be, but at the end of the day, it's one of those things where bullies don't pick a formidable opponent.
Oh, how true.
And I think that's what's happened. And I think, people over the last 4 years were terrified to say anything about anything. And that's literally the antithesis of what, everybody's fought for in America for all these years. So, but yeah, to your point with the mask and the pushing and the bullying and telling people they can't go somewhere. And I said to somebody, I said, if somebody could have afforded to send me to college and somebody had paid that kind of money for me to go to school like that, and somebody thought they were going to stop me from going to class to get the education somebody paid for, my mom or somebody else, good luck, bro. Like, you picked the wrong guy. I'm going where I want to go. And
you are someone who obviously have a very clear, moral core. Your moral compass doesn't waver very much. But so many people are weak, and so many people buy into that craziness. And, we're right here on the heels of the government shutdown. And, one of the programs that was in the 1,547-page bill was a program to continue with a government basically a censorship a program in the government where they could decide whether or not they should be able to censor you. I mean, it's still in it's called the Global Engagement Center, the State Department's office, no surprise, the State Department, dedicated to censorship, was to get another year of funding. Now, I'm not even going to go through the nonsense in there, but a lot of this is government sanctioned. So it's not just these people on the left who were, saying all this crazy stuff and have an agenda that is the antithesis of what people like you and I imagine most of my listeners believe. These people are knee deep in the government.
Well, Judge, the only entity that's going to censor me or has the right to judge me is God. It ain't the government, and it's not another human being. And I think, for a lot of the folks, and probably even a lot of listeners, because there's a difference between, being afraid and keeping your mouth shut and then also not standing up for other people. And I think those of us that understand the fact that, and I think, listen, I was raised by the furthest left liberal mother you can ever meet.
Really?
And a father who's the furthest right conservative you'll ever meet. Now, my father wasn't around, my mom, right? But I had, with my parents, my father was not in the home. But so I can remember saying to my mom when I was young, all the things you keep telling me, all the things you believe in, how come we can't change our situation in our family? Because you keep saying, believing, and voting the same way. And I think, and I think this whole idea with this guy that gunned the sit down from the back is, you're also talking about a kid who, this kid didn't struggle.
Yeah. Oh,
this
yeah.
idea that he's let's back it up a little bit with, and I'm not going to get into the psychopathology behind what he did or didn't do, who he is. I've never, and again, I agree with you. I think that's what they should seek. But I can tell you what, the recent verdict in New York City.
Yeah, I want to talk about Danny Penny.
Yeah,
yes.
And I think, there's an accountability coming back where, I'm going to be accountable for my actions. I don't get to say commit multiple crimes and not worry about consequences. And I really think that when you look at where we are today, and I see that as a businessman, people are excited again, Judge. They are excited because accountability is the precursor for all success. You can't be successful with lack of accountability. And this ideology of I should be embarrassed to be successful, I should be embarrassed to be good. And I think I still see that in the way I was raised. I think I had a mom who, the more I did, was like, well, what do we? And I'm thinking, listen, I give back more money than we've ever made. Like, that's part of the glory of what we're able to do. And I don't do it to glorify the human beings. I do it to glorify God. So that's the only person that's going to censor me. But the fact that we're even having a discussion about an entity to come through and say what you can or can't say, and again, it's not ever anything other than I'm in power and I don't want you to speak against me. It's not, because there are some things that people say. If we're talking about this, you think people should be able to get online and brag and scream and yell and celebrate a cowardly murder. But you can do that, but don't disagree with those that are abusing their power.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it is amazing. And, you have an incredible sense of, that you don't vary. There's no gray in the world for you, is there?
No.
I didn't think so. I want to talk about insurance companies. You have a huge insurance company. What's going on? Why all of a sudden, people are talking about, well, I don't blame them. What is the problem? What is what are people saying that is making them so angry? Forget about Mangione. What are the issues?
Yeah, and Judge, I'm in the life insurance distribution business, right? I'm not in the health insurance distribution business. So
okay.
I don't know, and I don't want to speak to things I don't know about. So, I hear what people are saying, and I read a lot, and I spent a lot of time, I was really enamored and confused by where is all of this anger coming from? So let me, and do I understand that there are industries all over America that people can be frustrated with? Sure. You can be frustrated with the insurance industry, the airline industry. You can be frustrated with all kinds of people. And I get it. Hey, people are talking about, well, I had this happen with my health insurance. I had this happen with my claim. I had this happen over here. And, hey, all those are probably valid for the most part. Mm-hmm. Except here's my concern. The minute we start even beginning to have empathy that murder, cold-blooded murder, is justifiable because of something that's happening with a certain industry. And I don't think the people that are yelling and screaming and applauding it are the ones that want to enter into any kind of combat. Be careful what you're asking for.
Yep.
You know, and I don't say that to be over the top or be dramatic, but at the end of the day, I'm sure in every industry I've had, doctors I've gone to, had family members go to, that things didn't go right. I'm definitely frustrated with that individual. I've gotten bad medical advice. I from a health insurance standpoint, I don't know a lot about how they process, what they don't process. But I don't think, if this was, and I know we say forget about him for a minute, but we talk about, this isn't a young man that had this litany of all these things happen. He had a break. This person did all these things to him and his family. And, so I think it's really easy in today's America, and we've been put in this position for 4 years of this rhetoric, that you're just supposed to despise the country. Like somehow you're wrong if you love America, believe in America. But I'm going to tell you, over the last few weeks, I can tell you in all the businesses I'm in, all the people I meet, I travel all over the country. I think even folks that may have said, hey, you know what, I don't know what side of the aisle I'm really on, but I don't want to live in a country where I'm supposed to be embarrassed to live here. I'm not embarrassed to live here. I'm proud of this country. Like, I'm proud to be an American. I do think we should protect people to live here. I do believe there should be accountability, because the scariest thing for me is the people that yell and scream the most about release this person and defund this and don't do that and cashless bail. Those are the first people to call 911.
Oh, for sure. You can't have a gun, but I'm going to have someone protect me outside my house. It's the hypocrisy.
Exactly. I'm not going to defend myself, but and that's the thing, the hypocrisy of, I want you to protect me, just don't protect them.
Yeah, it's sad.
I said I was, as I started getting older, I realized there were folks around me that would shame, or attempt to, because it didn't work, shame me for wanting to go do something different. Shame me for wanting to go be successful in a world that I wasn't supposed to be successful in. That's not, we weren't raised that way. We don't need to do that. And why do you think that way? Do you think it's going to make you, no, I just want to be a productive citizen and be able to give back. Yeah. And ain't nobody going to take that away from me.
Well, no then I would imagine, Sean Mike, that you are very much looking forward to January 20th. Sean Mike, I very much appreciate you joining us today. And I think if anyone is fascinated by Sean, you should get his book. It's called, and it's no surprise if you've been listening for the last 20 minutes, it's called Punch Me in the Face. Great book, great person. We're going to have him on again, everybody. Sean Mike. And by the way, it's spelled MEAIKE. Is that right?
That is correct.
All right, Sean, God bless. Have a great day. And thank you for joining us this morning. Take care.
Thank you, Judge.
It's the Judge Jeanine Show. This is the Jeanine Pirro Show. Now, here's Judge Jeanine Pirro.
Okay, now it's time for me to gavel out with my closing argument. All right, guys, we have seen a lot go on in this country over the past 4 years that hopefully will never happen again. Whether it was the censorship, whether it was locking us down during COVID, whether it was big tech connecting with social media companies and the federal government, FBI, Department of Justice, trying to make sure that we didn't hear about Hunter Biden's laptop, whether it was intelligence officials telling us that that laptop was Russian disinformation, or we can go right back to the very beginning when they told us that Donald Trump was a Russian plant. And that's Hillary. That all came from Hillary. There are a lot of evil people in government. Evil people who tried to control us, who tried to shut us down, who arrested us if we went to work, who closed down businesses and went bankrupt as a result of this COVID lockdown. But the good news, folks, is this. We now have people working on January 21st in the federal government, like Dr. Marty McCary and Dr. Jay Bhattacharya, people who know and understand what happened during the pandemic. And we've got to find out about Fauci. Fauci is one guy who cannot get away with what he did to the American people. And Fauci is the kind of guy that working for the government and has made very little improvement in the NIAH. Anyway, I can't believe we're out of time already. Make sure you join us right back here next week, same time, same place, for the Judge Jeanine Tunnel to Towers Foundation Show. Have a great day, everybody. Bye-bye.